Welcome to the Customer Wins podcast, where business leaders discuss their secrets and techniques for helping their customers succeed and in turn grow their business.
Hi, I'm Rich Walker, the host of the Customer Wins, where I talk to business leaders about how they help their customers win, and how their focus on customer experience leads to growth. Some of my past guests have included Ed Novadia of Finney, George Swetlitz of Right Response AI, and Ian Carnell of Vast Advisor. And today is a special episode of my series on new and emerging solutions. And today's guest is Suvrat Bansal, founder and CEO of Clarista. And today's episode is brought to you by Quick, the leader in enterprise forms processing. When your business relies upon processing forms, don't waste your team's valuable time manually reviewing the forms. Instead, get Quick. Using Quick, you'll be able to generate completed forms and get back clean, context-rich data that reduces manual reviews to only 1 out of 1,000 submissions. Visit quickforms.com to get started. Now, before I fully introduce today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Tom Weisner of Adventro for introducing me to Suvrat. Go check out their website at advintro.com, as they specialize in outsourced, augmented B2B business development and sales resources. I also had their founder on my show, so go look for Wim van Leerbegge. I always say his name wrong. Van Leerbegge, to hear about how they help their customers win. All right. Suvrat Bansal is a seasoned data leader with over 30 years of experience turning fragmented enterprise data into scalable, trusted intelligence. As former global chief data officer of UBS Asset Management, he led the data strategy supporting over $1 trillion in assets. Wow, I get to talk to you. Man, today, he's the founder and CEO of Clarista, an AI-powered intelligent platform that bridges fragmented wealth technology into real-time, decision-ready insights for advisors and enterprises. Suvrat, welcome to the Customer Wins.
Thanks for having me, Rich. Super excited to be here.
Man, I'm so excited to talk to you. This is going to be fun. So for those who haven't heard my podcast, I just love to talk to business leaders about what they're doing to help their customers win, how they built and deliver a great customer experience, and the challenges to growing their own company, and especially in this age of AI. So Suvrat, let's understand your business a lot better. How does your company help people?
Yeah, look, there's no surprise, of course, financial services is all about information economies. Everything from people on the front line looking for information about customers or trying to acquire new customers, analyzing markets, everything is digital. We know that. But that digital means systems, platforms, third parties, it's all over the map. When you're trying to construct an answer, right, it's too much, it's too costly, too heavy, too many teams involved. What Clarista does is just make that whole process happen in a very lighter way, right? It's a unique technology which can bring information from different places to produce insights which you're looking for, augmented with AI, of course, nowadays, like everyone will do that for productivity gain. But it's much deeper, right, in terms of connecting your enterprise data beyond your personal chat AI, right? What the context you have in personal chat is limited, as we all know. Secondly, the same thing transpires in operational workflows. I mean, similar to what Rich was saying about quick forms, essentially what's happening with the combination of engineering and AI, you are in a very strong position to automate most of your workflows today and turn human intervention and manual input into just a review process. And that gives you scale. And I think our fundamental objective is really to drive organization scale. They have the right people, they get stuck in wrong jobs, and we want to eliminate those wrong jobs and give them time back to scale that growth.
Oh, man. Look, there's a bunch of stuff in there that I want to talk about. I'm still stuck on this $1 trillion number, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. I mean, you're a data guy, and I would expect you to say, oh, yeah, I managed, 20 petabytes or petabytes of data or whatever. Yeah. But nobody gets what that means. When you translate it to money and the importance and value, what did that look like really to you?
Yeah, look, let's start back with the experience part, Rich, because finally it's all about whose experience are you going to impact by doing any role like data. Now, remember, the chief data officers, unfortunately, they're the only people with data in their title, although every person in the organization is dealing with data. So you have a unique responsibility. And I think, for people who take it seriously know how heavy that job can be. But essentially, it's really about like understanding the experience layer of information at every function. and then executing it in a way which is not bunch of end user computing, right? I mean, you can throw Excel sheet at some problems, you can throw a database at some problem, but when you think about an organization and feel the gravity of that role given to you, you have the responsibility to balance the horizontal experiences of thousands of people and the vertical complexity of, hundreds of years old organization with, thousands of systems and user computings and the regulatory frameworks and the auditing frameworks. And that's what my specialization was. I started in tech. I always believed in technology being like a personal thing first. Try it before you deploy it. Every new technology I brought in, I tested it on my own, on weekends, and took coursework where I didn't understand the technology well enough. And then I was very good at scaling it. I was, again, fortunate that I never walked into an existing job. So I had to create things very rapidly without compromising with any sustainability of what I was creating in the long term. I think having mastered that, like those things is what finally kind of lightens the weight on those shoulders of those roles. Like you need to have that experience and capabilities and frankly, enough failures to learn from and how to avoid that. And then the biggest benefit in the data world has been the constant evolution of capabilities. So you're not stuck with the only way, 20-year-old way to do things. Now, that's more of a process and blueprint people still follow, but a lot of it is about educating myself first and then educating my stakeholders on what's possible. People don't want to believe this thing, right, Rich? Just because you talk about it doesn't mean that it's believable. So you have to make it believable, starting with the experience layer. So I think, yeah, it's $1 trillion, but it transpires into experience of every function: clients, client-facing teams, product-facing teams, operations, regulators, compliance. And then it transpires at the end of the day into an organizational view of how you're innovating it. And we used to do that. Like, of course, we had 18 streams crossing different stakeholders at the organization level. We had, of course, I mean, just to give you a scale of this, we were adding 1.5 million holdings a day.
Wow.
A day.
A
Right.
day.
Like,
Wow.
so, these are different scales at which people are operating in these organizations across, as I said, hundreds of systems and people. And every person is busy doing their work. Right. So someone who's trying to figure out like how to optimize that. I mean, of course, there's prioritization and budgets and all that goes with the territory. There is no magic here. Right. You work with the right layers to build the case, you get the right sponsors at the table, you go to the leadership and tell them how you're going to execute one thing which can benefit 15 things. But that's the role, right? That's exactly the role.
Look, I love that you started by framing it as experience, because every single person in business cares about data one way or another. Whether they know they should or not, it's a different question, right? But we measure ourselves against our data. We look for data. We look for patterns. I was just doing pattern recognition this morning because the clients, their usage was off the charts. And it turns out they're actually using our system every 27 seconds, then every 5 seconds later, and then every 34 seconds later. And then it repeats that same pattern.
Yeah.
What are they doing? There must be some monitoring, right? Data matters. And that experience that you give to your constituents, your customers, your internal team, et cetera, all of that matters. And what you're talking about is how this turns into experience. So now let's go to Clarista, because I think what you clearly stated was that your product is meant to improve experience.
Yep.
So one of my curiosities, now I'm a data person, by the way.
Yeah.
Quick is really a data company when it comes down to it. How are you using AI to surface the data and turn it into intelligence, and how secure is this,
Yep. So, that's again, my experience coming from banks like Morgan, Credit Suisse, UBS, right? You hear these names and you put a immediate belief in that these organizations must be doing something right in their security posture. Otherwise, you would hear it.
Right.
Right. They're brand big enough to know that they have to do it right. So we got trained very early on. Think a Swiss organization, most people don't know, right? It's a very strict organization, has a separate data residency law. You have to read it. Before I joined my job at Credit Suisse, I read all of that. I equipped myself with that. And it's a very strict security profile on what data can leave the geographical boundaries of Switzerland. That doesn't mean where you're logging into a system from. Everything is recognized. You're traveling, you're in UK right now. Nope, you can't log into a system. So, when you train yourself with that kind of discipline, access controls, encryption, of course, right? But we're talking about on the fly in a digital interface where you will be blocked because you've left that geographical boundary from geolocation perspective, and your IP is no longer coming from Switzerland. These are the kind of strictest things we have lived through, right?
Yeah.
And we still need to create that experience. So it doesn't matter what the regulatory guidelines are, and I won't call them constraints because everything is solvable. These are architecting things right to finally deliver on that experience because teams are global, right?
Yeah.
You're not creating a Swiss team and a US team for everything. It's subscale. It's not optimal. So I think, just training on that. So what we did in Clarista, we removed the inertia out of the process, Rich. So why we are so secured? We don't copy any customer data because our belief was you can do all data processes, every data process on the fly. You can view data, analyze data, join data, visualize data, go deep, run AI without copying it in any vendor platform. The challenge was people thought you have to create this rigid model. A lot of tech companies still operate like that. Like, I have a data model. I'll bring information to my data model and then give you a login to that.
Yeah.
And our view was, why? When Netflix, you're not downloading Netflix movie on your iPhone anymore, are you? 5G,
no, you're right. You're streaming it.
You're right. You're just streaming it. It's caching enough on a browser, and it kills it when you sign off that browser is gone, right? So when you take that, and that was my first, when I left, I said, just thesis is there, personal level. Why are we moving all this data? It's not as heavy as a video stream. Of course, there are some complications. Is one stream and packets and optimize that versus, I have to kind of connect to multiple systems and formulate an answer what people are looking for. But that's what we made possible in Clarista without compromising with the thesis. So start with, I don't have your data. If you don't have an account, we'll create it.
This is fascinating. I hadn't thought about this. You're right. But how?
Yeah.
I mean, data lives in data stores and databases and object stores. How are you streaming it all?
I mean, we are actually hearing and seeing it is just get confused in the marketing language. So take Snowflake as a company. Snowflake came out and said, we will have real-time shares. You can just connect data into different systems. Like, we all know Snowflake usage, a storage layer of cloud, S3 or ADLS, right? So essentially what they have is a technical schema, which behind the scene can connect to any physical store sitting in cloud, right? Okay. But they limit it to their store because their whole revenue model is you have to live and breathe in a Snowflake ecosystem so that we can charge by compute, right? Nothing wrong with that. But from a client perspective, there are things fundamentally missing in it. One, that means I can only use that technology of on the fly storage versus compute separation when I use a Snowflake. Why? It's a technology, use it anywhere. Mm-hmm. So Clarista took that approach and said, I will give you a business schema. It's not limited to engineers. Think about data products. We talked about that. Data views. Just think about spreadsheets. Like, keep it very simple. You log into a spreadsheet, there are 10 tabs. Each tab has something useful in it, right? The headers are what are meaningful. The data speaks to the header, right? So the headers are a business schema. Second tab contextually should be related to the first tab. Otherwise, why are these tabs in the same spreadsheet? Third tab should be related. Each tab can reference another tab through calculations. Mm-hmm. Now you just take that spreadsheet and say, okay, let's turn it into an enterprise solution.
Wow.
So you have headers. That headers will fill real time, including any real-time computation from wherever the data sits. Can be Oracle on-prem, SQL on-prem, Cloud Data Lake, Cloud Warehouse, and Snowflake, and Databricks, and Salesforce, and Workday. It doesn't matter anymore, right? Because that's just network. All we did was say the networks are there. We are using it on iPhones. Let's turn it into an enterprise solution. So that's part one problem solved, right, Rich? Like, and by tying the business semantics to the technical source, why I give this example of spreadsheet headers is why normal business people use spreadsheets so much. Because they don't like the complexity of technical data. They don't understand what a schema is. They don't understand what a table is. I mean, try finding a right term for it. They don't care. Yeah. Here is my view, right? So construct these views on the fly. If you're not copying the data, you're not limited to the rigidity of creating physical views of data. So you have completely federated it the federation engines have been around for a long time. But by connecting it to this semantic layer, you're like just quadrupling the benefit of it. And once you connect that schema in Clarista, everything in Clarista runs on those headers. So I can run SQL on it, visualization on it. I can talk to AI on it. Any context I need, I just need to add that context to those headers, right? I don't care where the data is anymore.
Wow. Look, I don't know if this is normal information, but this feels like a major breakthrough. Maybe this is really how you guys have a product.
Our biggest, I would say, like learning has been that we came from very complex enterprises and we thought the world is there.
Yeah.
And we tried to solve very complex problem thinking we're solving it for the world. Since then, we have only backtracked, Rich, because the world doesn't even know that these things are solvable. Yeah. Forget that they have realized the problem and they're ready for a solution. Right? And remember where we started. Who cares? Give me the experience.
Okay, I have another curious question for you. How do your customers see you from a processing standpoint? Are you a processor now of their data?
We are purely a real-time processor of their data. And we are very flexible because we run SaaS. So customers who are lighter, like say, we have banks, we have credit funds, they're using us for SaaS. Then there are certain clients who are like, hey, look, I want to internalize Clarista into my own cloud networks. Technically, everything is possible. It's just you're compromising with the speed of, improvements Clarista rolls out if you're running it locally, which we know, right? Typical challenge. So we're very flexible. Technically, that's not a problem. Any cloud, any platform, we can run on it. But yeah, that was the liberation that, we're working with. We got into discussions through wealth to insurance companies only to realize they have massive problem of legacy data and cloud not talking to each other. And they're like, Suvrat, first, can you do with AI matching and merging of this data? I said, done, right? Like, here it is. And
yeah,
1.5 days, I think we went back. Here it is. It's a very old problem for them. And then they said, now that we've merged it, can you create a virtual warehouse for us? Here it is, right? That's the technology. Like, the answer should not be, let me go back to a drawing board and architect this. It should be, here it is.
Yeah.
And if you can solve, Rich, why I went into that is because these fundamental layers were the inertia, a rigid data model, ETL pipelines running everywhere. There is a place for everything, but it needs to be highly selective based on purpose versus a blueprint of that's where you start. This whole medallion architecture, like I get in and I'm a vendor. I'll listen to any client that's complete. I was a client and I will basically tell the vendor to leave the room if they talk about medallion architecture. Right. So now as a vendor, it's completely fine. Like, look, if that's what you want to do, but let me share my view. It's copying data, 90% of the data in 3 locations.
Yeah.
Why?
Right. You lose your source of truth.
And why? Oh, well, because it comes as raw. I need to transform it. Why not transform it on the fly at consumption time? I don't know. That's possible. Expensive. Oh, no, it's just not even possible. Like, I don't know if it's possible. So I think a lot of it immediately gets into, I don't know that's possible.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a breakthrough. Like, you have figured out something most people don't understand, including me. I didn't realize this.
And the reason I'm citing it
as being a heavy process that's expensive and slow.
Yes.
But you're saying it's not.
It's not. And we run it every day. The clients are running, like we have a client so demanding that they create these very complex dashboards, a credit fund, very large fund. They use Clarista to send around 6,000 to 8,000, distribution and capital call notices a month through Clarista. So Clarista is a very fungible framework which you can extend beyond insights for all the workflow optimizations. But coming back, like they said, oh, I have these, 5 tabs and each tab has like around 8 charts and I need 5-second performance, guys. And it's all real time. But the fact is we made it happen.
Wow.
Right? So this is possible. I think our clients push us enough to make it a possibility wherever, they feel the experience can be improved. But I owe it all to the evolution of networks and the technologies, which we were seeing. When we started Clarista, Snowflake had not become that big. It became big in front of our eyes. So we were like, awesome. Now people will understand the power of separation of compute and storage. But this is just talk, Rich. People don't understand these concepts. They just care about the experience.
Well, again, it goes back to your first premise. People care about their experience, not the data. They need the data. They don't understand how to use it and how to get it. They just want it delivered.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go to another question. And look, I have a fundamental question, but I really want to get into the depth of this. Do you consider Clarista an AI first company? And where are all the places that you're using AI in your company?
Yeah, so this is a philosophical debate. We will always consider Clarista as a data first company. Because without that, we kind of feel there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So we don't jump to, let's talk about the AI first. We start with, let's talk about your data first, right? I have to source it finally. I have to link it. Like now, even if I'm not copying it, I have to rely on it. So let's just make sure it's ready, because otherwise you'll tell me that the AI answer is not wrong. So how do I validate that the data is right before I say the AI answer is not right, right? So, and then yes, everything we do in Clarista from a client workload perspective is AI driven, because we kind of feel like, look, in the digital space, long time coming, if we have turned these things into digital anyway, like it's not physical movement of cards anymore for trades, right? We have seen those ones in late 90s. It's still kind of floating around somewhere, but like people don't even know they were punch cards and all that for trades, right? So there is nothing physical left other than servers.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, in that it's just it's due. It's just that, you know, there was, I don't know what was missing, but yeah, I mean, with AI, what I feel is the biggest benefit is that people don't have to imagine the experience. So they, like, just like you were talking about, I think we should talk about it, like your whole autonomous developer using AI, right? Some people are extreme, where you're going rich on saying, I can create autonomous development with AI agents. But in the whole spectrum now, you can see people from asking questions to, hey, look, can you read this from my calendar? Or, okay, can you go further and now create a CRM system for me? People are taking different legs. But the fact that's happening in all, like, what, last 1 year? And that's the
Almost.
exciting part. That's the exciting part. I'm not saying the LLMs came 1 year back, but I'm just saying it became a lot more public conversation 1 year back. And I think with that, what happens is when you get to the clients, they already know the roadblocks they're hitting. Where are those roadblocks going to be? Enterprise data, security, controls and auditability and regulations, which, you know, you don't have to worry about in your personal AI. And those take us immediately back to how secure the solution is and how do you handle data. So we are an AI first company in the experience layer, both operational workflows automation and the insights automation. But the conversation very rapidly goes towards where the clients get stuck in their personal experience, which is all about the enterprise considerations.
Yeah.
Right. So hence we are always going to be the data and security first company.
No, I love that. I love that. You keep your focus, because your core value is to focus on the data.
Yeah.
And even though I call quick, you know, we're AI first now, we have been for a few years, it's still about the forms and the data fundamentally. When I say AI first for my company, it's I want my team using AI to make their jobs easier, better,
100%.
faster.
100%.
I want to use technology to go do things we couldn't do before.
Yep.
Yesterday for my team, I laid out the next like 3 to 5 year roadmap for our product, which is only possible because of AI. It's been a dream for 20 years, and now it's possible because of AI.
Oh, Rich, I mean, and the biggest challenge you'll have is that 3 to 5 years will turn into 3 to 5 months, and you'll be back at the drawing board.
Oh, I hope so. Oh, I hope so. My gosh, because this is a product roadmap, not a sales roadmap.
I hear you.
And the product is going to unlock more and more market opportunity for us. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Because, you know, think about it. We're limited by forms.
Yes.
We're limited by what forms we have. So what if we could get more and more of those faster and faster, better and better? We can do more for our customers. Suvrat, you know, I'm actually in the midst. You mentioned I've been building something to create software that builds software. Autonomous software development is a pipe dream. It's on the next to impossible list, and I'm actually achieving it. This is what I spend all my fun time with. My kids are like, "What are you doing now?" But one of the things I'm doing to build a web application for this autonomous system is it's an AI first application. So when you log in, you've got your dashboard, and you can go to administration and add users, but you can also just go to the AI and say, add a user, show me my status, start a project. So I'm thinking, how do we build web applications to be AI first? So the experience can just be, I'm going to talk to this site. I don't have to click on anything. Just take me here, show me this, do this for me. Are you guys doing that? Are you ahead of me on this? I hope so.
No, so I would, no. We're not. I mean, at the end of the day, Rich, there's there's smart people like you in the world, right? So for me to sit here and claim we are ahead of anything is kind of ignorance, right? We're doing what we're doing right. So the way we approach this is when you are doing that autonomous software development and you're ready to roll that out, and you go to an enterprise, they will they will that autonomous software will be very data hungry and audit hungry, right? At every step of the way, they will ask you to like, oh, well, at here, I need this to be triggered for my version control. And I need this review to be done by my architect. So what they will early days do, Rich, is take you back a little bit from the vision to where they are and try to find a middle ground by injecting their current teams and current process into a completely autonomous process.
Yeah.
This is ground reality of enterprises. They
Sure,
move
of course.
slowly, right?
Yeah.
And because they have taken years and decades to institute those controls, every innovation initially gets pulled back to comply with those controls. Next comes now how you automate the controls, right? So we all know the journey. The Clarista can fly very fast today on AI because we already know the pullbacks. We have to methodically make sure that that step gets automated. So, hey, you data quality should turn into agent, right? People should.
Suvrat, I'm hearing something here. I'm hearing that you are predicting how the enterprises will react to your product. So you're rolling out features at their speed, not your speed.
Yes, that is exactly what you're hearing because we feel that's where we add unique value.
Yeah.
Right.
Smart. No, it's smart because this is what I learned with forms. Do you know how many vendors I've seen come into the forms marketplace and say, we're going to revolutionize it. We're going to totally change it.
I hear you.
People don't want that big of a change. They're like, just make my forms electronic.
Yes.
Just make them fillable. Now make them signable. Don't give me the whole thing,
Yes.
Don't plug into my head, make me think and it shows up. That's too much.
Yes.
Yeah. You're right.
And also, like, I have this compliance person, I have this CSA, I have this, like, where will they unplug into your process? You may say, they don't need to. They'll say, no, they need to.
Yeah.
So I think it's recognizing those realities. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like, look, I'm coming from organizations where I come from. Controls take a lot of time. To issue a policy used to be a year-long process.
Yeah.
Because once it's issued, you have to audit it. So people used to first challenge me back on why this policy. One more, right? It's not like, oh, write a policy for data governance. There's a lot of that noise I used to hear. I go in and write a policy. I say, yeah, what about the business risk officers push back on you on having to monitor one more policy? And which employees will need to be trained on it? Whose training schedule needs to include it? How will you audit it? Who will monitor the results? How will it be fed back to the quarterly attestation of the business risk?
You're giving me nightmares of SOC 2. We went from 80 controls to 180 controls in 4 years. Like more. No, we need more.
Yes. So, I think, and so part of it is just exactly what you said. Like, so we are SOC 2, ISO 27001. We have to be GDPR because we have clients in UK. We're working in the tangential space of healthcare. So we also, are HIPAA certified. So I think there are cases where, and this tangential space, the way it's evolving, like, give you a perfect example. Insurance company, a client of ours came to us and said, look, anytime the advisor is selling this insurance product, so we were focused on wealth, the advisor has to work with the client to manually fill this massive insurance form, all the health details and all this. Can you please help us automate that?
Yeah.
Right. But very similar to your case, right? But what we are seeing is these boundaries are merging with AI too. Right? Traditionally, there'll be handovers from one business entity to another business entity. And now those boundaries are merging too without compromising with those controls. So I think, it's just about recognizing those early on so that you can build your architecture accordingly to be flexible. Some clients will fly. Some clients will take a methodical approach, right? But you need to be ready for both.
Yeah. All right. So look, in the last year, you mentioned the past year, how much things have changed. A year ago, that was the year of agents. Now everything's going to be an agent. Nobody could agree on what the definition of agent is.
Yes.
I think to this day, we can't agree on what the definition of agent means.
Yes.
There's probably 12 flavors on a spectrum of what agent is. So I'm curious, did you buy into that and name that an agent in your system? Do you guys claim to have agents working on behalf of users? Does it make sense to even call them agents in your world?
Look, the way we think of it, we kind of, instead of an agent, we kind of think about it as like, and this is where the dialogue is started, an intern or an analyst. They are a new entrant in your organization. They can do certain things very well because they've been educated well, you have hired them, they have enough knowledge. They don't understand your organizational considerations.
Yeah.
That's how we think of AI in general. So we call them AI analysts. You can call them agents. Look, I care so little about this, whatever, right? I don't play an intellectual
Sure.
debate on any of this, Rich, call it for whatever. So from insights, we tell people that, look, when analyst is gathering, you want to do analysis on a new offering as a family office. Someone has come in a venture capital fund and they're offering a new fund and you want to analyze it. What happens? You analyze it by itself in the data room of 50 documents. Because the venture fund has just sent you those 50 documents. Then you analyze it against the existing investments with that fund. So if you're invested in another four vehicles, you'll say, look, how's this doing? And by the way, like some unique thing which I loved is in Clarista, it highlighted a person concentration risk. The same person who was being successful in two other funds was highlighted in the third from marketing perspective without highlighting capacity constraints. Great question to ask, right? But these things get missed out because you're so focused on financials versus things which matter. Then you have to analyze that against 140, let's say, other investments you have made with various fund managers. Personally, I will do maybe good job. 50 documents are not huge. You can upload it and analyze it. But everything else, it can't. Right? And they analyze it up. Like you want to be able to. So would we call that an agent who's thinking incrementally at different levels of depth with the common purpose which has been given, which nowadays are called skills? You can define a skill like section 1, data room, section 2, existing investments, section 3, my entire book. That's easy to explain. The how part is the hard part. And now if I solve that, you can call it an agent. At that point, I care less. Have I solved it? And is it the experience the client wanted? Take it, right? Like, is it an agent? Great, it's an agent. Right?
Well, so look, I bring it up because of the points you're making. Like, you really shouldn't care about the how, you should care about the outcome. Yet we think of agent because we're humans. We want to identify with some role, function, skill. And if we call it an agent and we give it a name or a persona, it feels normal to us. Oh, that's an engineer. That is an analyst. That's a security expert, right? So from a marketing standpoint, it sometimes feels better to tell people, hey, we have this collaboration of agents. My autonomous software has over 70 unique agents working together. It's crazy. But do you really care? Do you really care how they work? No, you care that it works.
I think, Rich, in enterprise space, it can actually concern people.
Yeah.
Because by sound of it, it feels like something is happening behind the scene, which I don't understand.
Yeah, there is.
That's what exactly. So I think I would highly encourage people, I guess, who operate in the enterprise space like you and I do, to explain it as it is. Don't worry about the language of it, right? I think because we spend so much time and we have client conversations where like every vendor is coming to me on AI, trying to pitch it same thing in different ways. And I said, just have a conversation. We'll get to Clarista product at some point if you want to, but let's just draw on the 25 years of corporate experience. We can chat anytime. People love that. They want to have conversations.
I thankfully I met you before we had this conversation that we're recording, and I love talking to you because it's easy, it's fun, you're interested.
It's great.
Look, I have to wrap up this show.
Of course.
And I hate this because I want to keep talking to you, but we're going to talk more. Before I get to my very last question, what is the best way for people to find and connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, look, easiest is, of course, have a quick look at our website, clarista.io. At least it tells you basics on, what we're doing and some examples, some case studies, some client testimonials, just like basics, right? But to the extent you're already testing different AI tools, I'm pretty sure within the enterprise, you want to hear what are those enterprise constraints and how do we overcome them. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just search for me. I was unfortunately given the unique name, right? I mean, Suvrat Bansal are not too many to find. So you just search for it and you'll find me, and you can reach out on LinkedIn as well. It's very easy nowadays to find people and reach out to them. I'm always open for dialogues, discussions, doesn't matter. Just all I encourage people is vendors carry a stigma of like, I don't want to have a sales conversation, but you don't have a sales conversation with people coming from corporate side.
No.
People kind of actually are thinking a lot more on your behalf than you would. And you don't feel alone in that, right? You don't have to go to 5 conferences to learn that, is my point, right?
Yeah.
If nothing, will at least tell you everything you should be asking, how you should be, like, how we have thought about it. And that just not, if nothing becomes your checklist, is how I look at it. Some clients have actually asked me, can you put that together? I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, it's fine. If that's what helps you, that's fine too. I start with, what are the experiences and the outcomes you're trying to drive? Is it more of operational efficiency? Is it more insights? Is it both? Okay, great. Where do you want to start? And then how have you thought about your data? And wealth, unfortunately, is still very separate, and not every vendor is very open API ecosystem.
Yeah.
As you know, Rich, you worked in that space. So yeah, there are, like, just focus on that. How do you want to make it work? Like, people, I tell you this is like exactly where a client dialogue versus reality comes in. So clients will have a dialogue. Do you have a built-in connector? Now, I tried to explain to them why connectors were needed. Was you had a fixed data model, and you had to build something which is coming into a fixed form on the right. We have no right side. Gone.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever comes in, you choose what you want to look at, and we'll publish it.
Yeah.
It's just a head scratcher for them. So, like, what does it mean? I said, look, I can't control what Salesforce will deliver tomorrow as an API change. Do you want me to sell you connectors? We don't charge by connectors, modules, users. All that is, as a buyer, think about it, Rich. You hate this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because you're trying to forecast everything at the time of contract. Who has the time?
Yeah. No,
Right.
I know. And,
So
and then
yes,
how do you manage your long-term costs too?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Throw it all out. Right. Now, I think what you should be driving on is, here is the outcome I'm seeking, guys. How fast and what cost? Right.
Yeah.
And are you ready to commit to that? So why we commit to outcomes in phase 1? I tell people, whether we are working through a partner or we are working directly with the client, because that's the only way to deliver confidence. Software is not confidence.
No. I love that you said this, because I haven't heard anybody else articulate it, but it is true. People who have lived in corporate and then go start companies, they care about solving problems. Yeah, everybody wants to make money building a company, but what we care about is solving problems. And that's where my head has been. Okay, I got to get to my last question and wrap this up. So total change of style here, because this is my favorite question. Who has had the biggest impact on your leadership style and how you approach your role?
Oh, wow. So I will have to say 3 people, Rich, and I'll quickly tell you who and why. Caroline Arnold, when I joined Morgan Stanley, I was there for 13 years, but she was the vice president of investment banking technology, became very senior MD over time, right? But what she taught me early days was how to take care of your people.
Mm-hmm.
My next boss was Paul Martin, head of operations for asset management globally in Morgan Stanley. And he taught me what integrity truly means and how do you display it every day consistently. And my third boss was Thomas Heinzel in UBS, whom I would like to mention. And he told me, like, he really taught me that innovation is not incremental. You have to go all the way. You have to learn everything. Like, this guy will give me, like, we have a meeting tomorrow, read about quantum, whatever you can. Let's come to the meeting prepared, right? So that's the kind of people, and they're building blocks. I was very fortunate because what Caroline built in me was teams. Mm-hmm. But Paul told me about how you operate. And then Thomas taught me about how you deliver.
Nice. I love it.
I think so. I was very fortunate to have these people in my life to be able to, like, mention their names and what they contributed to my life.
I agree. I'm in a way, I'm envious that I haven't had a boss for 24 years. I didn't get these experiences in the same way you did. I love what I'm doing, so I'm not going to complain.
Nothing to complain. Yeah. No, you're doing great. You're self-taught, right? I think I could have used those influences at that time of my career for sure.
Yeah. All right. I want to give a huge thank you to Suvrat Bansal, founder and CEO of Clarista, for being on this episode of The Customer Wins. Go check out Suvrat's website at clarista.io. And don't forget to check out Quick at quickforms.com, where we make processing forms easier. I hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as I have, and will click the like button, share this with someone, and subscribe to our channels for future episodes of The Customer Wins. Suvrat, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Reg. It was so much fun. And of course, our conversations will continue. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Customer Wins podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.